Hey, I've got another piece of literature I want to review, another work, one that feels pretty important for my students, but also, hey, just because you want to know things, right? I want to talk about Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton. And the way some novels go, some stories just, break your heart out loud. Well, Ethan Frome, well, this work does it rather quietly. We're not going to find a lot of things like, wars and villains or, dramatic speeches, but instead, it's just this frozen town, and there's this broken man and a life that just like slowly collapses under the weight of like duty and fear. It's kind of crushing. So let's talk about first where it takes place. The novel takes place in Starkfield, Massachusetts, and this is a small New England town that is like locked in this endless winter. So the name should tell you everything you need to know. It's stark, cold, unforgiving. So this is a place where people don't dream. It's more like they just endure. And Edith Wharton uses the setting as more than background. So like the cold, the snow, the isolation, all of this mirrors the emotional lives of the people who live there. So nothing grows easy in Starkfield. There's no crops, there's no joy, there's no love. Well, so let's talk about Ethan. Ethan Frome, he once had dreams, and he wanted an education. He wanted to leave town, and he wanted more from life. But responsibilities just pulled him back. He stayed to care for his parents. He got married out of duty, not love. And when the novel begins, he's trapped in this joyless marriage with Zena, who's a kind of cold and sickly woman that's obsessed with illness and having control. Well, and Ethan isn't cruel. He's more weak, and that weakness is what becomes his tragedy. Now, then comes along Maddie Silver, who is Zena's cousin. She's warm and kind, and she's alive in a way that Ethan hasn't felt in years. And with Maddie, Ethan glimpses a different life. Laughter, companionship, warmth, hope. But hope in Ethan Frome is dangerous because Ethan knows he can't leave. He has no money. He's not really, he's not brave. He doesn't have a lot of courage. There's no real way out. And instead of taking action, he waits. And when Xena decides to send Maddie away, Ethan is forced to face reality. He could run away with her. He could start over. He could risk everything. But he just can't bring himself to do it. So he and Maddie choose something else. And that is a sled and a hill and a desperate attempt to escape, life together. They aim for a tree and they survive. And that's the cruelest part. The years later, the narrator returns to Starkfield and sees the result. Ethan is just broken, Maddie is crippled, and Xena cares for them both. The three live together in silence and in misery. There's no freedom, there's no love, there's no escape from it. And Edith Wharton delivers one of the bleakest endings in American literature. And it's not death, but it's endurance without hope. And why Ethan Frome matters, why still talk about it? Well, this novel, it endures because it tells an uncomfortable truth. And sometimes the greatest tragedy isn't choosing wrong, it's just never choosing at all. And Wharton shows how, fear can become a prison, and duty becomes, more of a cage, and then like the silence can just destroy just as surely as action. And so the story is a warning about the cost of inaction, and then the danger of confusing endurance with virtue. Now, let's keep in mind, Ethan Frome isn't a love story. It's a story about what happens when people just let life happen to them, when they mistake, responsibility for righteousness, and when they fear change more than just being miserable. And, in this the frozen quiet of Starkfield, Massachusetts, Edith Wharton leaves us with this, this haunting truth. And that is, sometimes the worst fate isn't dying for love. It's actually just, living without love. Thanks for watching.